Okay, so you've got this licensing agreement and you're not quite sure when you sign it the impact it's going to have later, what some of those problems could be. Please watch this video because I'm going to talk about one of the mistakes I made so you don't have to make the same mistake. Please watch this video. One of my big ideas was called Spinformation. It was a rotating label that I licensed to one of the largest label companies in the world, CCL Label. And I remember when I was negotiating that licensing agreement, there were some things in there I didn't really understand the impact it was going to have later. So I'm going to talk about what happened so you can avoid this particular problem. So CCL Label was selling a lot of my rotating labels. It was winning awards. We're selling tens of millions of these labels and everything was going great for years and years and years. So everything was wonderful until something didn't go right. So what didn't go right? Well, after years of selling my rotating label in all these different categories, from vitamins to water to liquor to who knows what, they decided they wanted to go in another direction. They decided they wanted out of the contract. They decided they were tired of paying me a ton of money for the minimum guarantees. You guys, the minimum guarantees were so high, it was a cash cow for me, and they decided, the top management, hey, we got to change this up. And they did something I didn't notice what type of impact it was going to have on me until later. So what did they do to cause this problem in this contract I didn't see? Well, it's very simple. They said, look, Steve, we're not going to pay the minimum guarantees anymore. Like, what? But we still want to use your product. We still want to sell your label, but we don't want to pay the minimum guarantees. And in the contract, it states that if they breach the contract, it goes to a non-exclusive, meaning they can still sell it. All right, so what does that really mean? Yes, it went to a non-exclusive, which could be great, but that meant I could not give anybody else an exclusive now because they still had rights to it. They didn't have to pay the minimum guarantees. They still had rights to the technology, but they didn't have to pay the minimum guarantees, which they wanted to get out of. But that didn't allow me to go give someone else an exclusive that really truly had value, because now they were still involved in the business of selling my product. So what does this really mean? So when you get that licensing agreement, this is one of those clauses that you might not know the impact of it. That's why it's very important that you've done lots of contracts over the years. I've done hundreds, I've seen thousands, and I know now what happens when you sign a contract, what's going to happen later. And if you don't have that knowledge, you could get hurt. That's why you need someone that's very experienced at licensing agreements, that has a lot of gray hair, that's going to know what's going to happen later. And you can only do that by being involved in this industry for a long, long time. So the one big clause, really simple. If they did not hit the minimum guarantees, it went to a non-exclusive. I just didn't know the impact. It sounded okay at the time, but it's really not, because it didn't allow me to go after other companies to sell the technology. Now, at the end of the day, don't get me wrong, I was able to license it to other companies. Someone bought the patent portfolio. And so it didn't hurt me in a big way, but I think it didn't have as much value. We still use them. Once I sold the patent portfolio to somebody else, we still have the option to use this company, but I didn't have them on the hook with the minimum guarantees. There's another thing you can do, you guys. Even if it goes to a non-exclusive, you can put in your contract that there are still minimum guarantees. Maybe it's not as high, but you're still going to get paid if you're giving them rights. Because at a non-exclusive, I'm giving them rights, but they're getting them for free. So that's why there can be some type of payment, some type of minimum guarantees, even for a non-exclusive. So at the end of the day, what do I really mean here? Oh, I mean that these licensing agreements, you have to know the impact it's going to have, that if something doesn't get done. And these companies are going to breach these contracts occasionally, and you need to know how to handle it. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that a little bit later. Okay, thank you for watching this video. I also want to talk about this program called Gateway. If you've got an idea and for some reason you're not getting into companies and you're getting frustrated and you're not getting to the right people, or let's say you've got a product and you're selling it on Amazon or other places, but it's not really going that well and you want someone to license it for you, please contact us. We have a program called Gateway where we do all the heavy lifting for you. We find the right companies, we find the right people, we make sure your marketing material is spot on, we make sure your intellectual property is right, we make sure we can get the deal for you. It's called Gateway, so check it out, give us a call and see if you're right for this new program we call Gateway.